broadcast network, AFTERBUZZ TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads in over 150 countries, and your number one source for after-show entertainment. AFTERBUZZ TV, the destination for TV superfans. Producing aftershows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows. Interviewing celebrities and showrunners. And bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
Emma Wilson's father.
I'm like, hello, Kermit.
See? Some people know that. And it was Alison Sudol singing that tonight in the role of Emma Wilson.
It reminds me of the Muppet movie. That's what this is from. It was written for the Muppet movie. And Kermit sings it. Oh, Kermit. But a little weird for Dig. Because that's all I thought of, the Muppets.
Well, let's break into Dig, and I tell you what, it's the 5th episode, and it is called Emma Wilson's Father, and let's see how deep we can get tonight, because it's a drama, it's a mystery, it's a thriller, and we are loving it.
Yep. Hey, everyone.
Hey. How's it going?
Welcome to the Dig AfterBuzz show.
I'm Mindy Thomas, and you can reach me at Mindy Charlotte on Twitter, and let me know your thoughts ASAP.
Awesome. I'm Andrea Fasano, and you can reach me on Twitter at Andy Fasano. And keep them coming, because you guys have been doing great, and we're really loving the connection with talking through Twitter about this episode and these episodes. They just keep getting better. This one was a little slower, which I liked. I was craving that. It was a little more spaced out with the information, so it wasn't like shooting it down our throats where we're like, stop, rewind, what happened, huh?
Can I just say the symbol? I mean, that was like...
It's there! You've been waiting for the symbol.
I have so been waiting for that symbol. And I have researched, actually, on like what it is, and I'm coming up a little empty-handed. So if you know what it is, it seems like a pretty good mystery out there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know, some of these followers we have that are watching out there in AfterBuzz land are really giving us some great insight as to the prophecy and the religious tie-ins between the pastor and Yousef and the Essenes, but the symbol hasn't been mentioned and we haven't seen it really. So, except for the posters that have it on her back, which is what intrigued you, right?
Yes, and a little later on, we will get into how that was discovered this evening. Yeah, that was quite the thing. And of course, Peter Connelly, playing the FBI agent overseas and into this mystery because of an archaeologist who... There was a murder mystery, and then Yousef Khalid was the suspect. A lot happening with Yousef tonight, so we'll also get into that. But first, let's start off talking about Peter and the journal, because that's where it was at toward the beginning of the show. And then the young man comes over, and he says, "Oh, that you have Emma's journal. Who are you?" Right. And he was pretty slick. Yep. And he just claimed to be her dad pretty much right away. And that was smart. Of course, they got him hooked on a little bit of bong juice, whatever you want to call it.
And that's what I was wondering. Was he having flashbacks just because, or was it because of whatever he smoked, or, was it just the ironic symbolism between Emma and his daughter and the things that are going down?
Yeah, and the way this show is shot really feeds into all of those emotions, and it wants us to feel all of those things, I believe. And the director of photography, the director, of course, Gideon Raff, I think he did an excellent job tonight. And it's interesting because it does seem like, just briefly, that every episode is very different in terms of that overall feel.
It is. We said 2 episodes ago, it was so fast. There was so much information being thrown at us. The scenes where they were going back and forth. And then this one was a lot smoother and slower and more deliberate, I feel like. More, let's take the time to kind of not say so much, but show you more. And I enjoyed it, I have to say, because, we just can't keep up sometimes with the names and the prophecy in itself, the prophecy.
Well, it's a very intelligent show. And so, there is so much to follow. I don't think you can sort of flippantly, it's not really a non-thinking show.
No, not at all.
Yeah. And so there was a lot going on with Peter and the journal, the friends, and then, of course, discovering Julie at Brad's pit.
Julie at Brad's Pit. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I love that they named the bar that. And I love that Detective Cohen, knew right away that it was a gay bar in Tel Aviv.
Yeah.
And Peter Connelly didn't know yet, but he was like, oh, the name didn't give it away?
Right. He kind of glossed that one
Yeah.
over, and then all of a sudden he had a math tutor for his son. But I think Peter was still high, and so
That's pretty funny. Yeah.
But he sort of fed right into that, so that could lead to one of my predictions
Okay.
later.
Alrighty.
Right. The math
Just
tutoring.
write it down. Write it down.
Because they just pop in your head
I
as
know
you're
we have
talking.
so many.
and-
There's so many thoughts with this show, and so it's hard to keep them. But
Totally. Well, how did that work for you in terms of, talking to the boyfriend tonight? The detectives were talking to the Julie.
okay.
And in the dressing room.
Oh yeah. I've known for a long time that because it was discovered almost immediately that Emma had a crush on her archaeologist boss. So I knew he had something to do with it. We've been waiting a few episodes for him to be president and come back. And so I knew he had something to do with it. As soon as they said he had a boyfriend, I was like, it's the archaeologist. Why are you poking around? Just go after him. And I don't really trust him. I mean, he puts up his hands, my favorite line. He's such a cheeseball. And he puts up his hands and he goes, they may be dirty, but there's no blood on them.
Right.
Really?
So, yeah, we're back to that trust issue with the
Yes.
characters. As soon as we, get into who they are more, they become distrustful.
Well, because we as the audience know that he's involved with Rabbi Lev. So
True.
I don't believe he has nothing to do with Emma's death. Maybe he didn't kill her himself. Maybe he was with his wife, but he clearly has something to do with her death. So
Right. He is linked in there big time right now, and he's going to have to come up with, they kept saying an alibi, but then he played it off with his wife. And
Right.
So, he's kind of slick, and they're on to him on some level with that.
Right.
Yeah.
Totally.
So the archaeological famous man is really kind of, he's sort of a well-known. All right, so kind of moving along here, Peter starts having these flashbacks as well, and those were very interesting, particularly when he saw Emma on the TV. That was when we saw the first of his daughter ever on the show
Right.
Dig.
Except for the picture with the red hair.
Oh.
Because he showed the photo of, or somebody found, remember when they found out that he had a daughter?
Okay.
So she
Okay.
had red hair, and that's how we found it. But this
Okay.
is the child version.
Very good.
Yeah. of
Thank you
her.
for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the Rainbow Connection, which brings us back around. That song, they were both singing apparently, so it brought him back to days when Vicky was young and he was taping her, home video style, and that's a little ironic that it was the same song.
Supposed to believe that there's some tie-in between these two girls because they have common ways of saying things. They sing similar songs.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if it's just a connection between where he should be in his life. There's a lot of faith and religious, faith behind that kind of like, oh, I'm on the right path. Things are very familiar. Maybe it's just a comfort thing for him, an ironic comfort that these things are just similar. Or maybe it really means something. I have no idea, but I really want to find out.
I like that. There is a lot of mystery and
Yeah.
intrigue in these episodes, and so
And it just keeps leading him to the next clue. So that's what's weird. He keeps having the flashbacks, and every time Emma's involved, and he just keeps leading to the next thing.
Well, because Lynn and her driver are on the way in their car, and then there's a riot, American flag burning. This is getting very violent. Their cars start shaking. They're ripped out of their cars.
That was scary.
And violently hurt. The driver loses his life.
I know.
And then she's grieving, and she gets pretty injured and traumatized as well. And the U.S. ambassador comes to visit her in the hospital and says, well, we're going to have to switch gears. We're going to have to go into security. So what do you...
I don't think Lynn was having that. And I think she's just in a place where she's done with Peter. She's done with the ambassador. She kind of was a little hesitant with her, which is good because we know the ambassador's not a bad guy, but kind of. I mean, she's on the side of the gems and the breastplate and the stones. So, yeah, I don't know. I feel bad for Lynn. I feel like she's not on the inside. I feel like she's not going to believe Peter ever. She's just going to take it personally because of their relationship. And That was scary. I don't know. That was just a moment where you're just like, if you were in that car, what would you do? Like, something's bad's going to happen.
Yeah,
So
that's when you do feel vulnerable.
Very much so.
So then Lynn ends up, she's just emotionally depleted. Peter has nothing to really give her in that way. So she calls it quits. That's just kind
that's what it looked like.
Yeah, and whether it's in a moment of total grief and that she might come back around, we don't know exactly yet. But so the other storyline tonight, do you want to jump into Debbie? Because, okay. Yeah, there's a lot.
Well, why don't we just go there with the symbol? I mean, so we find out what the symbol is, and then boom, the symbol is the same shape. And this was just shown to us as the audience, but the symbol's the same shape as the compound.
Right.
That's crazy.
That's crazy.
I mean, was that compound really built? Do you think Pastor Billingham really built that just to be in the shape of the symbol? That's a little weird. That's like a huge overhaul in New Mexico to do.
That is. I'm thinking they don't really know it.
You don't?
Well,
I mean, that's so crazy. I mean, and they show that the symbol's on the roof of the cave. It's in Emma's book, and then boom, right to the compound with Debbie, and Charlie came back.
Yes.
We were making those predictions last time. Charlie came back for her.
I was thinking he'd have some Mad Max
You did.
posse,
You thought he'd have
coming over that sand mountain. I'm like, yeah, he's going to bring it. And he's just got his pistol again.
Yeah.
I'm like,
I don't know how he got back in, but they didn't even bother covering that.
Right.
He found her. Somehow he just found her.
Yeah. And then the other woman gets tied up and gagged. And the toilet woman.
Faye. You love calling her that.
I guess I'm just still a little, she
bugs you.
Woo. Yeah, she's one of those.
She bugs me too.
Very believable. So then they hustle their way out of there and they escape. Of course, Ted Billingham is waiting at the car.
Like he just knew. I mean,
yeah.
And if he knew, why is he by himself? That stuff is weird to me. I don't love that, but I'm glad they got away.
And they got away with the boy.
Yeah, they did. I know. I'm surprised she took Josh. Like she thinks she's going to knock some sense into him. That kid's not going to change.
No.
He's already drank the Kool-Aid and he's sold, so.
He might have to be locked up for another 12 years to get some of those kinks worked.
Yeah, right? Absolutely. I agree. And Debbie's not going to be the one to do it.
Right.
But that's all we got basically from that whole scene today, right? There wasn't much with the compound and the Blue Man Group.
She escaped. She tried to talk some common sense to that
the
other
girl.
woman. She wouldn't take it. So yeah, it was kind of bizarre because I didn't know that many people were at the compound.
Right. Oh, when they had the basically fire drill looking for Debbie. Right. Whatever. I'm like, Debbie, just sit tight.
Yeah, and she really realized she's been brainwashed and she's coming back to her own thoughts. And
right.
So yeah, she's rescued, but I don't know how far they're going to make it down the road.
I know.
So that's.
I think that whole town, the whole town minus the nice lady at the diner is in on this. So I don't think they're going to make it very far. Right. Early prediction, they're not going to make it very far at all.
All right. Well, there's a lot going on also with Yousef Khalid.
Yes.
I mean, that was a big storyline tonight because, well, I mean, it starts off that he is shot from last week. So he's in the hospital and he's struggling to get out because he knows he has to make this delivery on time. And the U.S. ambassador, meanwhile, is saying, oh, well, he's not showing up on time.
Yep.
She thinks something else is going on, right? But he does have the stone. He makes the delivery. And then they say, well, let me just tell you what's going to happen here because we need to atone for this sin here that you caused.
I know. I couldn't really figure that out. I mean, I know I couldn't hear the words that the rabbi was saying, that it was his fault and he needs to sacrifice himself. And obviously he was handing over the gun, so he knew he wasn't going to make it out of there alive. His deeds were done. He's run its course. But I just was surprised that they made him kill himself, and then he couldn't do it, but he did do it, and he said he's coming.
Is that a spiritual thing that's happening, that he's making a reference to something he's
I don't
seeing
know.
in the spirit realm? I don't.
Let me say something though, from one of our Twitter followers that has to do with this right now. At KNNN391, thank you so much, by the way, for your input, because this person has been giving us and I love the way you do it. He gives us serious lists and paragraphs of what's going on and tweets them to me. So that's awesome. But one of the things they said about Khalid was that he might be an Essene himself or from the Essene lineage. And that's how, remember last time I was saying, how does he know how to ride a motorcycle and get a escape like that when this dude came from America with a family who basically just shot like an antique owner. Now all of a sudden he's this big rebel, running away from the law.
Like he went out on independent.
Kind of.
And
so they were, they just thought that maybe that's his background and maybe he has his own agenda, so to say, with this prophecy. And I just don't know if that's true now with him meeting up with Rabbi Lev. Like, obviously he didn't go to the ambassador. I don't think it's a big deal because Rabbi Lev and the ambassador were working together. So I just thought that was a good point, that maybe that is why, maybe he did used to have some Essene, roots, but I don't know. I
that's
mean,
very interesting.
Then to just kill yourself, if that's part of the sacrifice, I get it, but...
Yeah, that's it. Everything just backfired there.
I know. And the
well,
whole thing is about sacrifice, so I get that. That's another theme of the whole show. Prayer, sacrifice, prophecy, they're all tied in. So,
but I'm not sure who they're praying to is the whole thing. Because
I know.
This is not a peaceful God. This is a very violent, murderous.
Well, that was sad. Yeah, it's funny. He's such a bad guy. And I was sad. I was like, we're losing a main character,
Right, exactly. Well, because Yousef Khalid, played by Omar Metwally, I hope I'm saying his name correctly, the last name there. He's the American who was accused of murder, so that's why the investigators went over there. He had disappeared to Israel, and that's how this whole saga really got started.
Right.
So just to recap on that. And then the last show, they were hot on his trail. So we know that the climax kind of was happening with his particular character arc, and that something's about to happen because they were just getting too hot on his trail, if you will. Remember, and then also Emma, she was part of the DIG, the research team, and she apparently had found out way too much. So, in other words, that was the last show. I don't know why I just jumped in.
I was like, wait,
maybe you can make sense of that.
Well, I'll bring it back to Yousef. What was buried? What did Rabbi Lev bury next to him when he shot himself?
Oh.
Remember, there was that scene. It was so dark. I didn't understand what he was burying.
Right.
Looks like a keychain, or I'm trying to think of what else he had. It clearly wasn't the stone, because that stone, we know where it's got to go, the breastplate.
Right.
Where we see that at the end.
We do see them at the end with it.
I was really intrigued as to what he buried next to him.
Yeah, and now that the breastplate is complete, there's going to be some other action happening.
Lots.
And of course, Peter in the cave, swimming back in the swim hole, face down, not sure if something was going to jump out of the water, if somebody else is going to jump in.
Right.
But he was there sort of in a meditative state and looks up, and lo and behold, yep, that symbol. And then the other symbol. So we're coming back to the symbol because, it's on the poster dig, and the whole season has been leading up to uncovering this clue and finding out what it is.
Yep, it's got to be as big as the number 19 and all those other identifying marks for this prophecy. But it's just funny, we haven't really heard about the symbol until right now. And it was in Emma's diary. So she, for a young girl that was a student with the archeologist, this girl knew a lot.
Right.
She had a lot of secrets that she was hiding to be someone who was so carefree and, just walking around Jerusalem alone all the time. I would have gotten me a security guard, like right away. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's crazy how much she was involved.
And I was thinking back on it tonight, like, okay, they're over there for a murder mystery. And then that night, Peter let Emma go off and walk by herself. So that was a little bit strange, even looking back on that.
Yeah, interesting.
That he might have been more protective, but he had just met her.
Yeah.
And then she had slipped the stone in his pocket at that point. That was the first one. Now we're on the final one tonight. Which came from Yousef Khalid. He had stolen in the last show. And so, I mean, these are interesting artifacts. We're going to find out, what kind of power, I guess, these things have in the episodes to come. By the way, originally, Dig was going to have 6 episodes, and now it's 10.
10, right? That's what I thought.
So we're on, of course, 5 tonight, and getting more
to come.
Yeah.
Could you imagine Dig ending after 6 episodes? That would be so anticlimactic. You're like, great, they filled the breastplate. and scene. Like,
Right.
what next?
Well, and I want to say that the performers, the actors, are very passionate. I mean, it comes out in their performances. You can tell Gideon Raff directed this, and they know what they're doing. These are professionals, and so I'm really thankful that for this cast. I mean, all the way across the board.
It's so funny you said that because I was watching some AfterBuzz stuff. There was an AfterBuzz interview with Jason Isaacs and Heche, and Jason was very passionate about, the host asked, how'd you get into this? Like, why into the exact show? Like, what made you take this part in these roles? And they were so passionate about it. They were like, it's just so smart, which it is, and it's half true because there's some truths in the whole religious prophecy and all of those tie-ins that's why he was so enamored with it, and so he was really psyched, and I think that totally plays into his character. So I think that's awesome. And another side note, I was told by another Twitter follower at, I'm not sure how to say this, but Charuwans, CHARUWANS, let me know that Jason Isaacs actually live tweets during the show.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah, it's amazing. So
Okay.
he's not tonight because he's on a plane, but next week he should be back and he should be live tweeting. So just an FYI to all of you guys if you want to watch us. And we're live at AfterBuzzTV.com. You can watch us live now, and then later on when the show airs at different times, obviously throughout the United States and the world, then you can actually tune in with him. But if you go to his Twitter, you'll follow him and see that. So it's pretty cool. I thought that was great.
Yeah, that's awesome to know. And let's segue into Peter Connelly, played by Jason Isaacs, of course, because I want to break down and do like a character diaphragm of where we're at with him.
Great. 5 episodes in. Let's do it.
Okay, so far
We know more now than we did before. So
That's true.
This is a good point.
Yeah, and we saw more of him tonight, a vulnerable side.
Again, yeah. Mhm.
Yeah.
I agree.
So
I like that, but I don't love it because I want him to be strong detective hero man,
Yeah.
But he's great. I mean, as like you said, the actor, he's great no matter what. But
well, and he's a man full of secrets.
he is himself. I agree.
Yeah, so
But I get nervous that those secrets are going to be his demise. So that's why when he gets vulnerable, I'm like, no, don't let it in.
Very good.
Don't get too emotional that you lose your head or get like hit on the head or something that he's not paying attention,
Right.
I don't know.
Well, first of all,
Yep.
as you know, married. Okay, not in.
He's separated.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No problem.
Okay. Second of all, we know now he's lost a daughter to suicide,
Yes.
Becky, and we saw her as a little girl tonight in his mind playing back the song "Rainbow Connection," which we started the show with, and
Yep.
Kermit the Frog, and I felt dysfunctional because I don't know that.
You will.
I was deprived completely.
You have to go watch the Muppet movie. You just have to.
Okay. EW, this is my notes. Emma Wilson looks like his daughter, who we did see her tonight, Vicky. And like you said, there was a picture of her as well. I'm going to have to go back and look at that.
Yeah.
Because if
You'll
you're-
remember.
Yeah.
It was somebody who it was Detective Cohen. Somebody sent it to his
right.
phone and he showed it like that. So that was it.
Yeah. I mean, these shows are very packed full of, when you're really trying to break it down and dissect it and then communicate it back out, it's just, it's not as easy as something that's more maybe superficial.
I know. But that's what makes it so good. And that's what
Right.
makes this good because it's a lot to talk about. And I love
And of course, Dig, the archaeological dig. So he's almost ordained as a minister, but 3 days before he left. So that's, that's...
we still need to find out why.
Yes.
Unless it was to get married. I don't
Okay.
I don't know.
Well, I'm thinking the tragedy happened with his daughter 3 days before. But I don't know. But he'd probably go to school earlier
I would
as
think
opposed
so.
to later.
Yeah. But you never know. You're right.
But something happened there. And then to become an FBI agent. So it's something probably traumatic where he changed careers.
Of course.
Yeah,
I think this was back in the day. It had to be.
Right.
Right.
Again, mesmerized by Emma, he has been, and then also engrossed in her journal because he's folding the pages, he's finding the clues.
Figuring things out.
I mean, seemingly pretty easily. Yeah. So he's getting better. in terms of the overall, the big picture, he's got a lot of insight that other people don't have.
Right.
The hard part is him trying to convince people
Everyone
to believe
else.
him. It's like, well, why did they send him over there if nobody believes him? And that's why. Because, they want him to look like a total basket case.
Right.
And he's... and he's not. He's actually hot on the trail of all this. So, meanwhile, the U.S. ambassador is totally fault-finding. She's fault-finding. Oh, well... You know, and even in the hospital, I think when she saw Lynn, it seemed like she still had that attitude. By the way, she's an incredible actress.
Oh, yes.
I mean, strong, authoritative. I love her scenes. Very believable. So.
Yeah, and the only person who was believing him was Detective Cohen. And we saw in the previews that Detective Cohen kind of faults him next episode. He's like, why should I keep running after your, crazy, careless antics and believe you? So...
Okay, so are we ready for predictions?
Sure.
Okay. I think we're going to hop on into
And now, your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
Well, that totally triggered me to think that when he becomes a math tutor for the son, that he is going to pick up some clues. That
You think so?
Detective Cohen is going, into the gay bars and has that type of relationship, at least with the one person. We don't know if he has others.
Do you think that affects his job, or do you think that affects the whole storyline? Either at all? Do you know what I mean? Because it's one thing if he just finds out he's gay, but...
Right.
Because I don't think Connelly would care
Oh,
at all.
okay.
But I just wonder if that has anything to do with the bigger picture here.
I think he's okay. Yeah. Well, that's a. I'm stumped at the moment. Oh,
Sorry, I didn't mean to do that to you.
I know. They're depicting Jerusalem in a way that really has not been depicted before, I think, in a TV show. And I was just, here's a little brief commentary, because I was thinking about Jerusalem and I thought, what is the deal? And I wanted to do some research. Well, the name of Jerusalem is also called the foundation of peace. That's another meaning for it. And there is actually in the Bible, since we're talking about religion and even pulling out a couple scriptures, out of context, in my opinion, okay? I'm just saying. But if you think they're in context, I really want you to tweet me. All right, so in the Bible, 806 times the name.
Word is used.
Yeah, the word Jerusalem. So, I just thought that was interesting.
Google told you that?
Yeah, well, I did some, right.
Great.
I did some wherever I got on the sites and Wikipedia and whatnot. So, but by the way, I made a mistake last week in terms of not finishing the show with just that tad of Hebrew. I was going to speak a little bit of Hebrew.
Oh, were you? You're going to have to do that this time.
Right, because I said I would, and, I like to keep my word. So if I
to.
make a mistake, I like to at least come back and make it right.
Totally.
Oh, man, I make too many mistakes.
Oh.
Man, I'm going to have to do some praying this weekend, but I'm not going to be praying to their God. I'm just saying.
No,
Okay.
right.
All right. So anyway, Yeshua HaMashiach.
Oh.
That's all I know. If you know what that means, I want you to tweet me. Otherwise, I'll tell you what it means next week.
Okay.
Does that sound good?
Toda.
Or can you wait?
It's Toda? Toda,
Ooh.
right?
Oh.
That's all I know.
Ooh. Should we do the reveal tonight then instead? That'd be so funny if we just start talking.
You guys, we've been so passionate with the show Dig that we both went and learned Hebrew.
We just learned like Rosetta Stone or something. That's awesome.
No, so let me say my prediction. I don't really have a specific one. When do I? It's so difficult for me. This show is so everywhere. But something we didn't touch on was the Essene, who picked up Avram.
Back to the
and
Essene
the red
again?
heifer. I just love him, and the red heifer is beautiful. I mean, for a cow,
and the girl.
that red cow is beautiful. The girl, they had a kiss. It was sweet. It distracted him, but not a whole lot from his duties. And then he never talks to anybody. And then he gets in the car with the Essene, who we know killed the real guy. And
not looking good.
He starts asking him questions, and then the Essene's not answering him. And I'm like, all of a sudden now, Avram wants to know things about everybody else when he never does that. And so I feel like Avram's gonna discover who this guy is sooner than later. And I think that's going to be a good thing, and he's still going to protect the cow. I don't think he's going to be killed, and I'm just not sure the Essene's going to fulfill his form of the prophecy. That's another thing that I was tweeting about with somebody that from last week when he was bathing, the Essene was bathing himself and getting all into that. He could have stolen or killed the cow whenever he wanted to, and he didn't. So obviously they have their own agenda as to how the prophecy will be fulfilled. So we agreed on that, me and my Twitter followers. But if you guys have any opinions, please tweet us about it, because that's a huge part of it. Short things happen this episode. But
yeah, totally. When the heifer came across, they were from going to Croatia, and there's been Norway and New Mexico, and so I feel like everything's coming somewhere
closer,
Jerusalem, to be. To totally.
Yeah, they didn't say where they were going, I don't believe. But it'll be interesting, because now it's just the two of them with the calf.
It's totally difficult to know where the show is going to go.
I know.
I mean, how it could even end.
I know.
I don't.
Well, we'll see in 5 more episodes.
That's true. That's true. And I'll look back and I'll say, how could you have said that?
Yeah.
I should have known.
You will. By the way, you guys, you can tweet Jason Isaacs at Jason's Folly. So I just wanted you to know that, since I did comment that
Jason's
live tweets.
Folly.
Jason's
Very
Folly.
Good.
So, and go ahead.
I think a lot of the stars have Twitter sites now.
A lot of them do.
And Heche, I'm going to, in other words,
Ori Pfeffer does for
so you can hear different perspectives as they're tweeting, and they have the insight on the show, and that's cool. But dig Dakota.com. They're doing a sweepstakes, and so you can totally win a trip around the world, FYI.
Yeah,
All
sounds
right.
awesome.
I think we've done it.
I think we have too. Thanks, you guys.
Yeah, and the question becomes, have you done it? I just, I was trying to be dramatic there. We'll see you next week, same time, same place. And in the meantime, don't kill the red heifer.
No.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principal.